All right, Bucky, we're live for this is episode number 10. So you always get the honors of the intro, so go for it.
Can't wait till we have sound effects on this show. It's going to be the absolute best. Bucky Beeman, commercial real estate agent in Rochester, Minnesota. Digital CRE collision with my friend Boss DJ on Snapchat. How the heck did you ever come up with the username Boss DJ?
It's funny, everybody's all of a sudden asking me that. I've had that name forever. And what it is, well, DJ comes from obviously my first name's Dallas, middle name's Joel, so DJ is what I grew up as. And then coincidentally, Sublime's my favorite group of all time, and they have a song called Boss DJ. So put them together, and that's what I got when I was like 14. Now I still got it.
There you go. Well, that's an easy one to remember if people want to look you up on social.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to get back here on Google Hangouts with you, Dallas, because there's been some obvious changes in the internet world. It's a sign of the changes aren't going to stop anytime soon. It's funny because I feel like that's going to be the trend moving forward, is consistent, constant change. And when Snapchat came out a year and a half ago, or it's been out longer, but when I started using it a year and a half ago, it really didn't change that much for almost a whole year. But now all of a sudden, things are changing. So let's talk about some of that change.
Yeah, it's almost like you've got to stay in the news, right? They need these media mentions. So it's what have you done lately? And I saw Twitter just updated their Explore tab, which I've still never used. The big one being Facebook introduced now their Stories knockoff, which is going after Snapchat and Instagram stories. So we'll see how that plays out.
And I love the comment I saw from a friend, Rich Hopin, that said, the battle for attention is real. It is so real. People, Facebook, I was told, tried to buy Snapchat. They denied that purchase. All right, then we're going to fight to gain people's attention. And if you think about it, there's a lot more people on Facebook than there are Snapchat. And it'll be interesting to see how telling stories in general ages up, meaning the general age probably of people telling stories is in their teens to mid 20s. And now it's starting to age up. But with Facebook introducing it, I believe it'll age up now exponentially quicker, because of their user base being an older demographic.
Right, and I just sent you this morning, I sent you the 2016 Nielsen social media report, and I'm trying to pull it up again here real quick, but it's crazy what it breaks down social media usage by age group, so it's like 18 to 25, 26 to 34, and then so on. I don't remember what the exact breakdowns are, but the older ages, they're adopting social media at an extremely fast rate, which people don't realize. But at the younger ages, that percentage of their overall hours in the day use is just out of control. Let me try to pull up real quick. The percentage of, if you take their 24 hours in a day, the percentage of that that's spent on social media is, it looks like 5.5 hours a day on social media for adults 18 to 34. So, I mean, you're only awake for so many hours, but yeah, that demographic is going to keep aging up. Eventually they get into story mode and just goes from there.
Well, another interesting thing, think of back in the day where kids are sitting in front of TVs and their parents are saying, you're getting too close, your eyes are going to burn out. Ultimately, what they're saying is, you need to get away from that TV and go out and do something. We can only watch so much TV. No longer is the TV plugged into the wall and unable to be moved. It's in their pocket. It's by their bed. It's in them. It's on their Apple Watch, right? I mean, it's there. So I think you'll only see that time spent on today's day and age TV, the phone, increasing, because there's so many more things that are headed there to the phone to capture people's attention.
Yeah, we're reaching the state where we're just constantly wired in, whether it's actually looking at our device or speaking to our devices, like we've been talking so much about. There's going to constantly be some sort of resource that's tied into the internet and this cloud and the larger beings that we can just constantly always have access to that information and that knowledge. It's crazy. It's exciting. Like my kids, I have a 5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. They're just going to immediately have every answer to every question they come up with right at their fingertips. We didn't have that. We had someone in their 50s trying to explain something to us that they might not have known.
It's absolutely amazing. All right, well, let's keep the conversation going on that attention and just talk a little bit about how we can use where people's attention is to one another's advantage in business. And what I would like to talk about, I'll start with my own personal brand, but I am also curious as to the brands that you've been working on, how you're working in this new year to keep, to get, to have people's attention. So my personal brand of Bucky Beeman, commercial real estate agent, I have been pushing the last year and a half, really started with Snapchat and telling stories. And this is a year, I've mentioned it in past shows, I'm doing strategy going into this new year. I'm going to be doing more scheduling, even though that's sometimes frowned upon. It's just a I mean, you have to, if you want to continue your day-to-day life of actually making income from selling real estate, for example. But what I've really been doing is building a media team, a media company, as some would call it, as Gary Vee would call it, around me. And I've been watching him on his daily V's. I'm so thankful that he shares his whole day 24/7 almost, because that's how I learn, is watching and listening. And what I've recognized is the team that supports him. And so I met a writer that has the capability to write all different types of things, really understands, is going to school for writing, for so many different types of writing, creative writing. And he actually just introduced me to, I think he called it content writing, where it's a form that's being taught related to pictures and short, like people's attention isn't necessarily extremely long. So there's an art form to how you write content. And so I'll be working with him. And what I've shared with him specifically is I'm good at video. That is my strength. That is where you'll see me producing the most content. What I need help with from you is checking out my video, pulling bits and pieces so we can start forming a blog post. That would be my hope. Now, I recognize that takes more of his time. I don't want him to be spending all day watching my content. He's got to go to school. He's got to work. He's got to do other things. But if I can, for example, take this show, summarize the highlights, summarize our conversation, get it to him so he can get inspired to help me write a blog, that's how I see him and I working well together. Other examples are putting draft posts, let's say for Twitter, for Facebook, for Instagram, in some of the tools that I use, such as Hootsuite or Grum is the scheduling tool I use for Instagram. And I can write my content, what I think is best, but I can tell you I'm very quick. Like, even look at my emails, like I 2 lines, let's roll. Like, I am not very good at long form writing, or I don't give it the time. I can't say maybe I'm not good, but I don't give it the time. And if I have it in draft mode, he can then go in from his computer, wherever he's at in the world. He's in Chicago. He is from Rochester originally. And he can then add creative words to that draft. And so that's one way I'm starting to figure out how I can distribute content in other forms that aren't necessarily my strength, is by having that individual to support me and to be paying attention to the content that I am good at putting out, my Snapchat story, my Instagram story, my YouTube shows, which we are, wow, holy buckets, on to 10. And then from there, creating that content. What's some of your thoughts, questions, helpful tips you got for me, Dallas?
Yeah, I think it's super freeing when you don't have to focus on those things you're not good at. The example I always use internally here at the agency is I always think of my brain like a computer, right? The more you overload your computer with all this other stuff running at the same time, the less it can perform on the things that are priorities. So the way we kind of battle that here at the agency is every Monday morning we come in, we do an agency-wide meeting, all employees, just real quick, 15 minutes, just to get everybody on the same page. And then the department heads, we all go sit in a room. There's like 6 or 7 of us. And we go down the list of every project that everybody agency-wide is working on. And what that allows us to do is PR is working on something, and then I can say, oh, I've got a great digital idea to support that. And then our Megan, who heads our web department, can jump in and say, oh, you need a really cool landing page. I've got an idea for you for that. So I don't have to sit here and think through all of these different elements and give some kind of halfway, not quite good enough version. I can just say, hey guys, here's what I've got. What do you got to back that up? So it makes this collaborative effort that's just so much better when you combine everything rather than me trying to roll it all out myself.
And so talking to small business owners out there, other commercial real estate agents, like the majority of commercial real estate agents, they are their own show. There isn't this support. And so what I would tell other individuals like myself is there are people that are wanting to figure out this internet thing. They're wanting to potentially pursue a career in this internet world. They don't know necessarily yet how to put the pieces together. Christian Nisbet is the gentleman that's writing for me. He's going to school. He's started following my story, I know, over a year ago, and we engaged here and there. And it led me just to meeting with him and asking the question. He's like, I would feel honored. Like, I'm like, really? Like, I don't have like, a monthly budget I'm allocating towards you. What do you mean you'd feel honored? Like, he's like, I just want to learn. And like, this is the day and age that I think people are more transparent about willingness to learn. And I'm not saying working for free is the way it has to be done, but even Gary Vee talks about this as D-Rock started by just shooting Gary, sending him video, and it obviously led to something. That's really where I feel with some of these creative minds that are out there is, hey, if we can just work together, I think we both can learn. I think we both can benefit. I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. We don't know necessarily yet how to put the pieces together, but if we started sitting next to one another and trying to put this puzzle piece together, I think we're onto something. So I would push for other small business owners to start looking into those creative individuals in your community that you find online, in your communities online, and start just asking the question of, what are you doing as far as social? And, Christian maybe isn't the video guy and he wants to get inspired by a video guy so he can do more video. Like, I can teach on that. So sharing skills back and forth, I think, is how you can lead to that teamwork and finding somebody that will help you.
Yeah, I think building that sharing economy is such a huge thing going forward. I remember, so I'm 30 now, I'm getting old. I remember being, I don't know how old I was back when I was doing the clothes, but 24, 25. And I had this skill set that I knew how to program. I knew that all the theories behind online behaviors of consumers and how to optimize the search engine for conversions and social media marketing. I knew all of these things. I didn't necessarily know how to run a business. I would have loved if I could have somehow taken my skill set and just sat in a room with another person who had those pieces that I didn't have, helped them with the things I had, and the reverse of that, then kind of trade them. I'll give you your website and all of these things to make your life easier, let you work on your business, but then you download some of that information to me. So I think if you just ask, like when you ask people something, people want to help you, but people aren't asking. So unless you go ask somebody what they can offer you and how you can help them, that conversation never starts. So you've got to just go out there and try to find somebody that has something that you don't and tell them that. They'll be honored by that.
Awesome. And I don't want to quite get off this specific topic because what just came to mind, and I think this provides value to me because it helps me think through what I'm doing, and hopefully others can help provide some thoughts, advice, feedback. So Christian's in Chicago going to school, and I have to figure out as I create more to-dos for him, how to even manage those to-dos. Again, are there these tools we could go and try to learn and try Trello and Depulse and all this other stuff? Yes. But instead, let's just keep this stuff simple, people. We do a Google spreadsheet. I have to-dos. I put in my spreadsheet what the thing is that I need help with. And then I put a Google link to the show notes, for example. And then he clicks on it, takes him to the show notes. Right there, he can start writing. So, even finding ways to collaborate from afar is very possible now more than ever, thanks to the internet. And you just got to push yourself to use some of those tools.
Yeah, I think I'm in a very similar boat here at the agency. We just brought on a junior to me, and she came in completely fresh. She just had an interest of digital marketing, pay-per-click, search engine optimization, email marketing, all that stuff, didn't have the tools. And yeah, I'm in that same boat of now, not only do I have my own work to worry about and make sure I get done to the level that's expected of me, but now I need to also manage her deck and make sure she knows what she has to do every day, make sure she's delivering on those, and also train her on those items when they come back not quite where we need them. So yeah, it's a whole nother monster trying to then manage another person plus yourself. So I know what you're feeling.
So as I talk about that media company build out, the other thing is I'm trying to work with a video editor, as I'll call it, somebody that has the capability to edit within Final Cut. that can take my Snapchat stories, combine it with now what I'm using, YouTube Capture, trying to relatively do it on a daily basis. YouTube Capture is the app that when you record long form, it saves to your camera roll if you want to, or you can automatically post to YouTube. What I'm doing is videotaping within YouTube Capture my whole day, not doing it in my camera roll, because it actually will keep them all together if I want them to. And I also know when I go to that app, like, all right, you're in vlog mode, right? Long format. That's what I'm doing right now. And then what I'm doing is at the end of the day, I'm having YouTube Capture go to my camera roll, and my camera roll is synced to Google Photos, and he has access to my Google Photos, so he can grab the video down and access it really easily. I did have to buy a terabyte of storage on Google Photos. There fortunately is a lot more as well, but big picture, I hope to even go in and kind of organize some of that content that I'm creating, because within Google Photos, you can do that. You can add description, you can add albums, it's dated. Like I think there's a lot of power there, because one thing that's held me back, and I think it holds a lot of people back, is, all right, I'll go, like, this might get me jacked and I'll go shoot tomorrow. Yeah, but now it's all on my phone, and what do I do with it from there? And so simply understanding Google Photos maybe as a tool, or something similar to that, is a tool for someone to where it goes in the cloud, it's accessible from anything. And then if you have somebody that edits the video, like I'm working with and trying to develop out, or if you have the ability to do it yourself in iMovie and have the time, like, start doing that. Start using some of these tools that are available online. And Google Photos, that just came over me over the last month and a half of finally figuring out where to store all this video stuff, because it was a pain before.
Yeah, we have a similar strategy with a lot of our clients. So our clients, one in particular, has 95 locations throughout the US and Canada, and we run their social media. So obviously we can't be in their restaurants taking photos of behind the scenes. So we do this for several clients, but this one in particular, we have an iCloud, so same idea as Google Photos. Pretty much anybody in the restaurants, managers, they have iPhones. Even if they don't, you can make it work on Android. But all the general managers of each location are tied into it. So they can be behind the scenes at their local restaurants, taking these photos, pushing them up to the iCloud. We can download them here at the agency, and our social media team can go through them and say, okay, this is a great one for Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or email or whatever. So we just always have real-time feeds of what's going on in 95 different restaurants, which, I mean, even 5 years ago would have been unheard of. So the tools are out there. One thing you also said that I wanted to point out too was how you feel that moment where you know you've got something, but it's on your phone, and then you start thinking of all these obstacles and it's time it's going to take you to then do something with that. One of the things I found, particularly with this show that we do, is I was identifying that. I was going, okay, yeah, I want to do an episode. I don't want to do all the stuff that comes after the episode. I don't want to go make the WordPress blog. I don't want to go make the cover photo for YouTube and all these things. So what I did is I just made a very basic shell of what our logo is, and it's got interchangeable episode numbers. So I made it one time, went through and saved out episodes 1 through 20. So they're all sitting there already. That obstacle's no longer in the way. I knocked that out right at the start. I don't have to now go home and make a new cover photo for this YouTube thumbnail, and then the one for my website, and then the one for iTunes. It's just already there. I took care of that obstacle, so it's freeing to do that as well.
That's awesome. And I can't remember the name of the tool, but I talked with a great gentleman. He has Real Sales Talk. That's the podcast. And I want to say he's into like episode 53, right? And I think there's a lot more of these shows coming out too. This is just the beginning of people recognizing they can create content and get it out there. And so Sean Mitchell of Real Sales Talk, he's doing these type of interviews that lead to a podcast. And then what he's doing is using a tool called, I want to call it Lipson, Lypsn, something of that nature. And that tool, you take your video, put it in, let's say, so you download it from YouTube, you put it in, and I'm not saying it exactly, but then it distributes to SoundCloud, Stitcher, so it does one in, all out. So you're not having to do multiple. And so it's $5 a month, Dallas. Someday when we can afford $5 a month, we may want to look into it to save that step.
Yeah, so I'm doing the same thing, but
I'll split it with you, dude. $250.
It's a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But I'm doing this kind of the same thing, but a totally hacked together because I didn't want to spend the $5 a month, and yeah, it would make so much more sense. And that's one of the advantages because I do have a certain set of skills. I can save that $5 a month. It's $5, but most people that solution's perfect, and it would probably still save me time. But yeah, look at that stuff. I've actually heard of that one. It looks cool. There's a few of them out there.
I think this just came over me as well, is you got to spend time before you can save time.
Right.
Meaning,
Yeah.
look, here we are spending time figuring it out, how it works, figuring out all the pain in the rear things that we don't want to do, but we end up having to do, like put the description in and blah, 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 blah. Like, I enjoy this. Now let's not do anything else. And then we figure out hacks, if you want to call it, and time savers. And that's the deal. Like, you got to be creating Snapchat stories before your Snapchat stories become more efficient, before you create an outline of your Snapchat stories, before you have a strategy of your Snapchat stories. Like, start spending time, and then you can find out how the heck to save time.
Yeah, for sure. There's at the office, I'm always saying it because it drives me crazy to no end. Part of being in an agency is everything's super planned and super structured, and everything has to happen timely and in the right orders and all these things. And I'm like totally rogue guy out there just saying, no, guys, like let's just go. And I've now all the time at the office, I'm saying it doesn't have to be perfect. Let's just go. Don't wait for things to be perfect because they never will be. Let's just go. And lately we've kind of found some of that stride. Like they trust me a little bit more now that I've delivered on what I've said. The Facebook Live is a perfect example. We've done only 2 now. We have another one tomorrow. But the first time I brought it up, the immediate response was, all right, let's get a meeting on the calendar. Let's all sit and talk about it. Let's organize, outline the show. And I was like, no, I'm not showing up to the meeting. I'm not. I'm going to show up the minute we hit live, and we're just going to do it. I'm like, we're not plan it. And everybody was freaked out. They wanted to have a name for the show. They wanted to have logos, the whole deal. And I was just like, no, let's just do it. And then we did it. And the first one was fine. We struggled with video quality, but that's just part of it. And then the second one, everybody just showed up and we did it again. And now we're just going to show up again tomorrow and do it. It's completely unplanned, and but it's working.
I like that. And see, again, I think strategy comes, but in the beginning, it's just doing. And so start doing and then worry about your strategy. And yeah, amen, man. That's nice work. Way to push them. That's awesome.
Yeah, this is week 3, and now I think I saw somewhere there was a strategy that someone put together. So we have one somewhere. But yeah, we did it twice, figured out all the video kinks and Wi-Fi and all that stuff, and now we're ready to go.
So I'm trying to think of how we develop further on this. You got to spend time before you save time and create structure.
Yeah, if we wouldn't have just done it, we would have been over planning for things that never would have happened, and things would have happened that we would have been completely unexpecting, and it would have just unraveled. But instead we went in expecting nothing, planned nothing, and so nothing could really go wrong. We had no expectations. But now that we know how it works, now we're building those blocks to, okay, this is what's working. Let's go this direction.
Great conversation. Oh man, I just had it. Now I'm losing it. The other thing I wanted to chat about is, this was interesting. Today, I went and toured a building that a radio station was moving out of, and the broadcasters, the radio personalities, they were still in the building, but all the sales team had left to the new building. And so here I sit and I feel like I'm in rural Minnesota, related to many things such as social media marketing and just we're behind on the times. No offense, but you know it. Like, man, we're behind on the times.
Exactly what you're saying.
So I think the radio station, the person that owns the radio station is owned by a farmer who owns multiple. That's the deal. You froze right there. I don't know if you can still hear me. Can you?
Yeah, you froze a little bit too. I think we're coming back now. So go ahead. I heard it all.
All right. So the lady's in there and I start talking to her. I'm like, hey, can I buy this equipment for podcasts? She's like, yeah, some people are starting to do that, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's cool because some podcasts, I see cameras now where they're actually turning into video content and audio content. And I get to thinking, I'm like, how much longer is the radio actually going to flip and last? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, what? Like, I might as well start my own radio station while I'm at it. And I'm already trying to create a news station, and I'm already trying to create a newspaper with my blog. Why the heck am I not? I was going to say fudge, by the way. Why the heck do I not create my own radio station at the same time? And so, yes, I'm curious your thoughts, but man, and what they're selling too, right? It's like, I want to create this spreadsheet for Rochester of all the advertising opportunities in Rochester, because it wouldn't be that tough to, if you spent the time on it, you could figure out every advertising opportunity in this town, from flyers to radio and all that stuff, and then look at what the price is for that and the people's attention, and then be like, I have this many followers on my digital CRE show. Like, what? Like, how does this work? So anyways, what's your thoughts to that conversation, Dallas?
Yeah. So I just thought of two different things. One of them, the first one, we had just had this exact scenario play out here at the agency, and I don't want to say client names or this person's name. We had one client who did a really significant radio buy. So meaning they paid the radio station a lot of money to have this one particular DJ mention their name. I mean, they agreed on a certain amount of times throughout the month that he would tell a story. So it wasn't pre-recorded. That was part of the deal, about why this client is so great and all about the family and all this stuff. And this radio personality is really well known. It's a local station, but it's syndicated nationwide, also online on our iHeartRadio, which is just a national thing. Well, halfway through the contract, no one really knows the true story yet, is all of a sudden that relationship was terminated. The DJ was now gone. So the contract that we signed for our client was then null. So they got out of that. They got their money back. And then the conversation became, okay, what's the DJ going to go do? And I said, if he was smart, he would not go back to radio. He's got this nationwide audience of him, not the radio station, of him. He needs to go into Facebook Live. He needs to go into YouTube. He needs to be his own thing. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, he puts out a press release. I'm not for hire. I'm doing my own thing. And everybody canned him, thinking it was the dumbest thing ever. And it'll work out. It's going to be just fine. I think he understands that. Nobody else does yet. But yeah, he can make way more money for himself instead of making a bunch of money for a radio station. And
here's the truth. What is radio? Let's be real, people. Radio is just another app on your phone, meaning, all right, are you going to keep that app on your phone, or are you going to delete it because there's a different app that has your attention? And it's iHeartRadio on my phone. I actually don't have it. Instead, what do I have is SoundCloud. Like, that's it. And I love SoundCloud because I can listen to my podcast, and then I can listen to Christian rap, and then I can listen back to my podcast without having to go out of my apps. Like, it's all in one place. So interesting. That app, as I just called it, I think in the way that it's being delivered locally does not have a long-term plan of sustaining in that platform.
Yeah, and that's what I said, because the people that tuned in every morning for like 15 years or however long he was there to hear him, they were listening to him, not the radio station. So they're still going to tune in to listen to him wherever he goes, whether it's his own thing or this radio station down the street. So he can just as easily bring that audience with him, just like when a Vine goes under and something else pops up. He just changes platforms, but all the people come with him, and he can just start selling his own ad space for a quarter of the spend. The difference is it all goes in his pocket instead of somebody else's. So he's going to do good.
I cannot wait to make a podcasting room in some place somewhere. That's a hope dream of mine some point, because it's set up then for the audio, really good audio, not just over my iPhone like I'm doing here. And I'm going to have it set up for video. Like, that's the vision.
Yeah.
And then I got to program, just do whatever the show is that's in that room.
Yeah. And then he can be the first guy in town to lease out a podcast room by the day, by the hour. There you go. You can rent out the space.
I know they talked about it. All right, man. What else? I think, we've been jamming hard. I've been chatting about what I'm doing. Anything specific you want to?
Oh man, I've just been deep deep in this tilted kilt project now for 2 months, but I think we're coming out of it. Actually, this is the first month all the paid is wrapping up, and so far it's doing amazing. I just had a partner call yesterday with Google, and they were really happy with me. so I'm doing good.
That's awesome. Are you learning anything through working with such a known brand, if you will, in that area?
Yeah, for sure. So when you're working with the smaller brands, which, I mean, we're budgets of like maybe 5 restaurants, budgets of 20,000 a month on the smaller end, but that's over 5 restaurants. You can typically just look at the campaign, see all the pieces in one view, and see, okay, things are breaking down here. This fell behind this week. Let's do this over here to pick it up. You can pretty much your overhead view of the campaign is everything you need to see in one shot. When you start getting into the numbers that we're dealing with this account, there's no possible way one person can look at all those numbers and make any sense of anything. And actually, I have a call with Google on Monday then to look at some other like kind of more advanced reporting stuff we're going to try to figure out. So just to make sense of just this mountain of data to try to figure. I mean, it's doing amazing, but it's an ongoing daily process of making sure you maintain that. And you have to see which keywords are maybe your competitor just overtook you, or maybe the clicks are down for this food item and you've got to figure something else out. It's just way too much to juggle on your own unless you can figure out some system I'm working on.
So I'm going to push a little deeper. Is there anything specific you're learning that can be applied to a small business or a small brand or anything like that?
Yeah, I would say have the infrastructure to grow first before you do. It seems like we went super fast from the smaller clients to this one, and now we're kind of like, oh crap, what do we do? Like, not what do we do from the sense like we're in over our heads, but like that's a lot of things that we now need to manage that we didn't have the bandwidth for, and we're trying to figure it out now. Of course, when that opportunity comes along, you take it and you figure it out. Now the next one that comes around, we'll know more. We'll be ready for it even more.
So what I get out of that is, as a small business owner, because what you just said kind of contradicted what we started with, but as a small business owner, start creating and then find ways to save time, to create structure. So then when you decide to take that next big step, like the step that hurts because you're taking your legs so far out, like you can handle it, and make sure that structure is there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say when we first got the account, we were super comfortable with what we had. We were super comfortable going into this new thing because we had all these systems built. So we built all this strategy and all this architecture around the size that we were. And then we totally shattered that model. And we were like, okay, now let's figure this next step out. But we didn't say no to the opportunity. We said, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to figure it out. Let's go. And we brought in a couple more people to help support that role, or those roles. And we're figuring it out. Now we're building those systems. So now we're going to get it figured out.
Awesome. Cool. One other thing is Gary Vee on his Daily V, I think it was 2 episodes ago. I'm pretty religious. I watch them all. And 2 episodes ago, he said VaynerMedia is getting the opportunity to test out something with Amazon. And I'll figure out what that something was. But he's like, very fortunate to be in this position to even give this a test, because it's the first movers that really could reap the benefits, and our clients get to use this. And I feel like, I don't know, my feeling though, it has something to do with audio, Dallas, like we've discussed. So I'll figure out what that name of that Amazon thing was, and we can jam on that in the next show. And I know we discussed we need to get a guest, and we definitely got some we've done. Now we need to start figuring out how to save some time and create some structure for our show, don't we?
That's right. And I almost wonder, I haven't heard anything about the Amazon deal. I almost wonder if it has something to do, they just rolled out the food delivery. It seems a little bit out of his element though. But what I've seen, it's very cool. So that could be something, but maybe something else coming too.
We know there's something coming.
Yeah.
It's never, no.
Started as a bookseller.
Cool. Thanks, Dallas. Yeah. Thanks, Dallas. Let's do it again soon. Keep this momentum going, and I'll get to work on some of the structure and some of the other things to help continually provide value to me, provide value to you, and all the people that are listening. That's what it's all about. I really, really feel like we talked about specific tactics and strategies today that I hope people can apply. And if they have questions, ask away. You can reach Boss DJ on Snapchat.
That's right. You're just Bucky Beeman? I have two of you on my phone for some reason.
Yep, all one word, any social, whatever one you're looking on, I'm there.
Bucky Beeman. All right. Well, let's wrap up, and I think we have another one of these on the calendar next Tuesday, right? I looked earlier today.
Great. That sounds good.
Awesome. Talk to you then.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Yeah, thanks.